The conscious contact, there's prior to conscious contact. The mental process produces a sense of self after the conscious contact. Yeah. So consciousness, or this movement of mind, let's say, call it consciousness, is in contact. It has the quality of being conscious of. So when it comes in contact with something, it can be conscious of it. Yeah. So there's the potential of consciousness at all times, and then there's the experience of, say, you become conscious of, and that's what our life is. Yeah. We become conscious of seeming things through hearing them, feeling them, tasting them, touching them, smelling them. Yeah. And then thoughts. The thoughts tend to sort of give us another take on the hearing, seeing, feeling, tasting, touching. They become conceptualized. So now, instead of just the seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, when the thought system gets going, it gives name and form to the seeing. Yeah? So it makes it the seer and the seen. So the seen is the form, and you're the seer. The name. You take to be the subject, and now everything else is cast as an object. But what's forgotten is the seeing, which is the activation or the expression or the experience of consciousness becoming conscious of. Yeah? So there is an awareness that's conscious of that, or is aware of that. It's aware of the consciousness. It's aware of the activity of consciousness being conscious of. Yeah? But you're not going to be conscious of that, because it is what's conscious. Yeah? So you can't become conscious to what is conscious. So you're the aware, but you can be aware of conscious contact. You can see it going on. Yeah, that's why Buddha, I don't know why he said it, but it's a beautiful statement. As he said, when you see, see; when you hear, hear; when you feel, when you taste, when you touch. That's sort of like resting in the awareness of the conscious contact. So you're aware of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, and that becomes your starting point, which isn't a point at all. That's so beautiful, yeah? And so immediately, if there's a rest there, as a byproduct of that rest, there's a relief from the subject-object paradigm, yeah? Of the seer seen, the hearer heard, the feeler felt, yeah? Because most of the stories aren't really written. They use the feeling to facilitate the story, but it's usually the story's about what was felt or the feeler of it, yeah? That's where all the pages of the stories are written about. It's about the seer and the seen, not the seeing. But the seeing facilitates everything, but it's not acknowledged often, yeah? But what's really acknowledged is the story of the seer seen, the hearer, the heard, the feeler, the felt, yeah? That's sort of when life shifts from happening to you. Yeah. And once that heist has occurred, where you're not sensing it as happening anymore, you're really interpreting it as happening to you, yeah? Then that just geometrically progresses. So you get a big story, historical story about you, yeah? In the past and in the future. Yeah? So the thought system, which seems to be the navigational tool, most people aren't being driven by intuition much anymore. It's possible, but they're not usually being driven by their intuition. They're being driven by the navigation of the thought system. And the thought system has only two directions. It's past and future. It's not a very circular movement. It's thinking about you in the past and thinking about you in the future. And doing it now, which is the only place where there's any consciousness and contact. Now, all the past trips are unconscious. That's why anything can happen there. And it doesn't need to be based on seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. It can be based on thought. So you go into a mental realm, and in that mental realm, if you're identified as a self, or you're cherishing that idea of being a special someone, this little action figure, with all these great qualities and defects of character, but very unique and special. If there's a love for that, what happens? That love for that is taken by the mental process and extended in time, and so it gets dispersed, or your interest and attention, and so you're, in a sense, you do, but you're not accessing the interest and attention to really be alive this moment. You have a big story why you were alive and why you're going to be alive and what may happen and what did happen, but you're not really alive in a sense. There's not that feeling of vitalness, for a lot of people. And of course, if there's that lack of vitalness, if we're not feeling the energy of life, we're going to probably substitute it with some other kind of energy in the form of alcohol or drugs or shopping or sex or something else, We've got to attempt to sort of, the mind now wants to get back to where it never left, in a way. But it believes it's left. And it's attempting to get a feeling of at least being alive. Just like when people bungee cord or they do extreme sports, because they get a rush and they feel alive, But, if you have a bungee cord, how can you be a great bungee corder? You do it once or twice, you jump off a bridge with a thing, it's over. You know what I mean? I don't want to keep bungee cording, to get that rush. I would rather just feel that it doesn't need to be a rush when it's in rest, When it's in rest, it's not a rush, but it's definitely the same charged energy. But it's not like a spike; it's more like a constant hum, So now your mind sort of like chills out and starts resting quite a lot instead of being agitated, because it's usually agitated by there and then, Really not so much in the moment. I mean, how many, basically some people would say maybe you had 13 appropriate events in your life where fear was really needed to be provoked, Like you got attacked by a dog or saw a shark in the water. Then your body would let all this adrenaline out and you'd be able to fight somewhat or take flight. Maybe 13 times, maybe 20, maybe 50, maybe 5 if you had a sheltered life, maybe 4. But most people are feeling a similar effect produced by mental anxiety. The body's shooting out chemicals of fight when there's no apparent threat. You know what I mean? You're on remember when we were in the Bush years in the government, every time they throw the red alert, there's a red alert for a terrorist thing. Usually when they were doing something they didn't want you to pay attention to, there's a suspected threat going to happen in Manhattan. Red alert, forget everything else we're doing. Red alert, this is sort of what it's like. And yet nothing ever came to pass, except what they wanted to get past, without us seeing it, seemingly, But it's that old card. It plays so well, fear, because you can provoke it with mental anxiety. You know what I mean? Usually, for courage to arise, it needs a courageous act or a situation. But for fear to arise in us, it doesn't. It needs mental anxiety. The mental anxiety kicks up almost the physiological experience of fear a lot all day for a lot of people. So their wiring must be totally overloaded and fried, You know what I mean? To be shocked every 5 minutes. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Really. You'd want to get some relief, wouldn't you? Yeah. Whatever it costs. Hey, I want to feel a little better right now, and I'm willing to pay any consequence tomorrow for it. That's what my drinking and using was like. It made sense to me. I couldn't bear the uncomfortability or agitation I was in all the time. So I wanted to get high, even though I knew I was going to get arrested probably. But I didn't care because the imperative was to get relief now. So if that's the imperative in some level to get relief now, that would be a huge form of slavery. You'd have to do almost anything. So this whole idea, is not to say, okay, this is what you are. You're the ultimate void extending itself called love. We're not going that direction, because I notice when people would sit and hear that, they would hear it as Paul. And now as Paul is the ultimate love and is the extension of love in the void. But Paul doesn't have that in its little lexicon. Its little conditioning is I'm not that. So it's going to be a whole lot of freaking work for Paul to ever get close to the void and the extension of love all day. It's going to be a lot of work. Because I'm here, and that sort of sounds like it's not here where I am. But we're looking at Paul. Is this reference point a true reference point, or is it just made up all day? Reinforced constantly, and then basically we get lazy and we just fall in the habit of taking ourselves to be this, yeah? Because it makes sort of sense. Everyone else is taking me to be it. I might as well take me to be it. Yeah. So let's go have coffee and talk about what's not happening for 3 hours. And I'll placate your imaginary concerns, and then you can placate my imaginary concerns. Yeah, we'll have a great day. Yeah. And there's that drive to be part of the herd, and you may have to step out of the herd in a way because people will be like sort of trawling for your attention, not noticeably, but they want you to agree with their story, and if you're not into agreeing with it, they're probably not going to want to hang out with you long. You know what I mean? Because they're not getting anything from your well. They're not getting any concern or like swapping stories, why I'm going to be so fucked a week from now and stuff like that. You're basically just holding the space of freedom from the bondage of self. You know what I mean? You're not interested in any of that. Because you're totally interested in this. This is more than enough. I don't need to go in an imaginary field of the past to try to fucking kick some, root of an old plant that I used to smoke or something. You know what I mean? It's not even there. Nor, hey, geez, what? The future is like a house of horrors in my own head. What could possibly happen? Let me see. I could be destitute. And then you think, destitution is what I'm afraid of. No, it isn't. You're afraid of the meaning that your mind gives to destitute. Yeah? All that we're reacting to isn't what it's saying. We're reacting to the meaning about what it's saying. Yeah? We're reacting to the meaning the mind's giving it. Destitution may be the greatest thing that ever happened to you. You have no idea, but you sure believe you do. Yeah? You have a real idea, a lot of them, that's not going to be good. I'm not going to be looking too good if I'm destitute. You know what I mean? There's no way I'm going to meet any girls in Destitute Alley. So you got to see that the mind is what's giving everything the meaning it has. There's no thing in the future called destitution right now in your life. It's not here. It's an idea. Yeah? That has to be given flavor and given the breath of life by our interest and attention through the puckering of the mental thought system, cherishing the self. What would happen if you lost interest in that? And I found the way it worked for me, I lost interest in the self thing when I started to entertain it. I may not be that. Yeah? That may not be about me. All the talking of what that guy fucking was implying to me and that me, which is the center point of all the consternation, all the conflict, all the hopes and aspirations. If I'm not that, I'm going to lose interest in it. Yeah? And that's how it's worked out. I've lost interest in it. And you don't lose interest. The interest just leaves that, let's say, dead horse or that conceptual carcass you're picking at all day, and it now starts enlivening your life. It's now interested in attending to actually what's happening, brought to you by conscious contact. You're now engaged with that, and you are at the pulse of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. You're at that point, prior to the mental process starting to interpret it. Yeah? That's the first thing you bow to. Then the story starts showing up. But you already pledged allegiance to the master in a way. You bowed to the awareness of that conscious contact. That's your original face. Let's say that becomes your starting point. And I found, and you can't even see the difference because it seems that one isn't located, but it seems to be here, and the other one seems to be located, but it ain't here. We have it the opposite way. Yeah, so I like this approach better than the other ones. It works better for me. Because if it's not about me, I do lose interest. I don't lose any interest, but the interest leaves that and then it goes somewhere else. And then where it goes, I find out by the interest. The interest tells me where it landed. And the attention tells me where it's landed. And basically, how for me it keeps coming back out of the imaginary fields, it usually lands in this moment, and it's attentive and interested in the seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and the touching. Yeah. Now, that's a pretty good combination, because at least you could say that's happening. Yeah. This moment. So now you're pretty much, I would say, at least in the vicinity of the first square of the game board. Yeah, maybe now things will seem clearer to you without much thought or effort. Blue will be blue and red will be red. You'll recognize things. You'll pick up people's energy, and if you have the ability to stay clear, you stay clear of them. There's nothing. They don't have to be indicted or anything. You just feel it out. It's just not right for you at this moment, and on. And you now are much more. It's much more flexible, yeah? You're not on this train of first gear, second gear, past, future. You now actually can start, your wheel turns. You go this way or that way. Things become inclusive, not so exclusive anymore. Now I can surf and work at the same day. Who would have thought, All this starts to occur. And it just works better. And you become the demonstration of it working better, called traveling lighter. And it's not you, but the experience here, it becomes a lighter traveling experience. Yeah? And I find that's really benevolent and beneficial to the mind, because the mind isn't so agitated by the imaginary places of the past and the future. It can truly rest. When it rests, it has the ability to reflect, and what it really reflects clearly is the conscious contact. And now it sees that, if I'm conscious or aware of the conscious contact, I would say that's as far as you can go. I don't think there's anything behind that. Yeah? So instead of taking yourself to be the one who's seeing, which implies you're behind the camera, you see that this is facilitating seeing, and this is in front of the camera. Or you could actually say this is the camera box. Yeah? This is the box for the camera, for conscious contact to have an experience here. But we're not the one who's seeing. This eye is in seeing. This ear is in hearing. It facilitates seeing and hearing. Yeah. Consciousness is seeing and hearing. It needs, and it's used for it to see and hear something, it needs to be facilitated through this, because this is a perceptual apparatus that makes things seem to appear outside. Things that can make noise, and they smell, and they have prickly feelings, and they you can see them, Look at a bush. If you see it far away, you've seen it, yeah? Then you walk closer to it, then you can smell it sometimes. It has some flowers on it. Then you walk even closer to it, you touch it, and there's a thorn. Oh, you can feel it there, right? So now you've smelled it, tasted it, heard it. No, you didn't hear it. Oh, now the wind blows through it, and then you hear it. Yeah? Makes a different sound, a shrub than a redwood. Yeah? All this is the conscious contact of every day. We were more in it. It seems like when we were a kid, we seemed to have outgrown it, and we got this. The daily staple of our life was like a going over or a reiteration or an interpretation of the events of the day, instead of the feeling of being alive in the day. Yeah, and I think it's a weird. It's not a very satisfying deal. You give away life and you get an interpretation of it. Maybe you can find some mental security in it. Maybe you can feel safe somehow in that, where you feel a little bit scared in the abstract or the unusual and the unknown. But I'll tell you, what you give up for that mental security is a whole lot. Yeah, a whole lot. It's like the mind, when it shuts down, it just doesn't shut down the one particular window. All the windows go down. And then it's a bitch trying to get them back open. Yeah. So, this is what happened with me. I went to these talks, not like this. There was more people there, those ones. They were more popular, I think. Yeah, they were nicer, loving gaze and all that. It was true. I enjoyed it, I didn't feel anything, whatever. I felt the space of it. It could have been a mannequin in front. It was just time to feel something. And then finally give it an authority that the mind wasn't willing to give to it before. So I heard it, and then, read some books, not many, few, and I took a while to read those books, because a lot of times when I'd read something, it would stop my mind, and I'd enjoy that stoppage, I thought that was the most important information, was when my mind stopped, not when it was trying to procure understanding out of the book, but when the book stopped my mind, that was the real juice, that was the real understanding to get, the unspoken understanding, silence. So I'd be sitting there in a pause, and then my mind was just recalibrating. It had to. It just didn't make sense of this. So it was like, And you could hear it almost. It was like a great feeling. And then you walk around like those dogs, that are sort of like, they can't figure something out. They do that pen. You're like, what the fuck? What's going on here? I mean, what's happening? And then just kept letting it happen. Well, there's nothing you can do about it, basically. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And then I just entertained it longer, went to places that I really wanted to see the people who spoke. I went to India, went to Ramana Maharshi's place where he lived because I read his these talks that were translated in one of his first books. I think he wrote one book maybe, but a book of some of the talks, and I really liked what he had to say. So I decided I'd go to India and see where he lived. And then I went to see Ramesh Balsekar, this other guy, because his concepts were very clear in the books I read. And they stopped my mind quite a lot. So I said, well, I'm going to check him out before he passes away. He's getting old. So I saw him for 13 days in a row, 16 days. No, 12, and I came back for a few days. So that was cool. And I listened to that, and I listened to some other people. And then it was enough, It was all right, time to just really entertain it. Not like I wasn't entertaining, but I was entertaining it still in a sense of me and them, It had to just be me and I, and so that I could really see clearly I wasn't the me. I wasn't going to see clearly as long as I kept seeing the I in them, but not in me. I had to get to the point of it being in my own thing. And then, lo and behold, I don't know what moves the rock, the imaginary rock. But something moves something, and I would say it's grace. I don't know what. And then the calibration shifted enough that it was a done deal, you know what I mean? Like 51% of the stock was taken over by the Divine Presence, and 49% was now the minority shareholders, which was the yapping division, yapping and the time division, yes? And the way things are way more important than you imagine. Where this is a much more sort of slacker type, very, very relaxed condition. But now the 51% was there, so it was a done deal. And then since then, it's just been about entertaining it. And you're already entertaining tons of things, all day. You never thought it was any work, nor will you ever feel it was ever work entertaining anything. Your mind's entertaining constantly, all day. It's entertaining this as being real. It's a lot of yeoman's work to keep this thing seeming like a continual, real, one foot after the other experience. It really takes a lot of freaking work. It's interrupted every time you dream and you go into deep sleep. Get up and believe this again. Yeah. But this is so you're never going to have to, I've got to entertain the truth. No, you don't. All you have to do is to be introduced to what's not so. See what's not so, and that's the entertaining of what's so. The seeing of what's not so is the entertaining of what's so. Yeah, that's it. The seeing of it. So you start seeing that the thought system takes me as a body. You just see it. It's clear as day. If you watch the thoughts, there's an assumption that you're this historical action figure, which has to be a body. So as the thought systems are going, they produce a sense. And the sense of this they produce, because it's not a natural sense, is a sense of self. Yeah, because the thought system believes the whole system and the language that is used in it. Yeah, sees you as a subject. You're the one who's doing things. You're the one who's seeing things. You're the one who's this, and you're the one who's that. And it's that's one of its archetypical logics, is that you're it. That's why it's called self-centeredness. Now, it's insane to try to change the system of thought that's rooted in self-centeredness and try to get it out of being self-centered. Because whatever it comes in contact with, it will make it a self-centered event. Yeah, that's why it says very clearly in recovery, self can't get out of self. Yeah, so a lot of people they're not enjoying their experience here. They feel like, I'm addicted to thoughts about what's not happening. I have no immunity to it. And they want relief. Yeah, but they want relief from that, but as this. Yeah, as the sense of self from what's bothering the sense of self. Not seeing that the sense of self is producing what's bothering it. You know what I mean? It's the cause of the itch, and it's And then it's wondering, how can I live without scratching it? Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. Yeah, so self is attempting to get out of self. So let's say in this charged arena of non-duality, they presented an idea of non-self, that there is no self. But when that's heard by a thought system that's rooted in self-centeredness, it can't entertain that. The only way it can entertain that is, as I am, I'm going to try to become as I'm not. But I want to be there as I am to experience I'm not. Yeah? That's the logic. And it's going to be difficult to break. Yeah? This is a much easier approach because it's no approach. We're just looking at, all right, what's the center of the system that seems to be failed? It's called self-centeredness. All right, well, let's look at the center because obviously the system is based on that. Everything is based on self for the failed system. Why? Why does it fail? Because there is no self. That's why the system fails. It doesn't want to admit that little hiccup, because it threatens the whole system. Because the whole system is about self.
Yeah, but there's this thing called the body. It's so convincing.
Of course it is. Why do you think this ain't a cheap movie? This is a damn good movie. Mind's dreaming it. I mean, it has a high technological quality in production. Of course. What's mind going to chimp on it? Of course you have a feeling. You have a feeling it's you. That's being produced all day. You didn't have the same feeling when you were a baby. There was no feeling of you until a certain point of time. Yeah? Then the mental process develops sufficiently to convince us that we're the body. Yeah? And then from there, it's very easy to think about the body in the past, because you can picture it. It's very difficult to think about spirit in the past. How are you gonna tell which was your spirit and which? Oh, I think my spirit was having yours. No, yours less, very low, dim spirit. Mine was very bright. I remember 4 years ago, you were bothering my spirit, your spirit. You can't do it, but you can think about a body. Especially a body who seems to be the actor of things, So what I did and doesn't do is a huge, huge, huge subject, It produces all the possibility of guilt and shame and pride. I did this or I didn't do that. I omitted things I should have done, and I committed things I shouldn't have done. It's like an endless irrigation system to mental thoughts about that. About you being the one who shouldn't have done something or the one who did something, So there's the thought system. It thinks about you as a body. That's a very good bit of information. If you're not a body. It's really, really a very important bit. So that there's a sense of, hey, I may not be that which I'm taking myself to be. I'm not saying I am or not. That would be like a certain affirmation that has no weight, but a question. And I don't know. And you're into inquiring, You're into, if a pause gets developed, you're into exploring it. Like when I'm not a body. You mean I'm not the doer of my life? If I'm not the doer of my life, then whose life would it be anyway? Oh, that's pretty interesting, question. Go there for a while. Whose life is it anyway? So basically, the only way I can claim my life is to be the doer of it. So the doer is one of the biggest foundations of the story of self. That you're the doer of your actions. You're the seer of what's been seen. You're the hearer of what's been heard. If that plank isn't taken, if that plank is securely in place, it's very difficult to get any relief from self. You'll only try to get relief from self as a self. But if you start I'm not saying you're a doer or not. Just open up the windows and let your mind entertain other possibilities. Because what it entertains is going to find expression here through you into what you call your life. And it'll either better your life, in some ways, I don't mean just success outwardly, it could be, or it will worsen it. And you can sort of tell the tree by its fruits, like Jesus said. If a good tree can't bring forth bad fruit, then if you got a lot of bad fruit in your life, you may be sitting under the wrong tree. You may want to question the tree you're under. Instead of wishing the fruit would change, the fruit is being blossomed by the tree. The tree is the producer, not the fruit. The fruit is just the expression. So what has taken you over, seemingly? And if it isn't you, if it is a foreign installment, then what could possibly be available? Hey, I could be free from it. I could stop trying to be free as it, which I was attempting for years. It didn't work. I swear to God, I was practicing some heavy shit sometimes. 14 hours in a jungle in Thailand for 2 weeks, living on a fucking soup. You couldn't have any food after 10:30 in the morning. You could have a yogurt drink at 12, but you only had a soup in the morning. I lost like 20 pounds, and I was skinny to begin with. I mean, I was just 13 hours of spiritual experiences, but nothing radically changed. There was still a very stubborn point of reference called Paul that wasn't being moved one iota by all the meditation. It was just going, meditator. I'm one who had the spiritual experience. Epiphany, I had that too. It was just claiming all these phenomena that were going on. It was just grabbing it and claiming it, putting its brand name on it. And then it became, I'm a spiritual person. I can sit for 7 hours and 7 hours walking, man. I'm fucking bright as hell. I'm fucking, wow. The leaf is talking to me with the dew things on it. Everything is just reflecting my glory. It's just unbelievable. Yes. But radically nothing changed. As soon as I left the retreat, maybe as you were driving back to the town, you'd start feeling the din of the place, the city, and your peace was disturbed. You were irritable, restless, and discontent, and you had a lot of damn resentments about Thailand and Chiang Mai and the pollution and freaking, why can't they shut up next door? And like this, don't they know I'm meditating, that this is an important event for a human being to actually stop his little pleasurable desires and sit there? No one gave a shit what I was doing. So, maybe a day or two. Maybe. So what happens? The head goes, well, just lengthen the retreats. Stay there for 2 months. Yeah. So you'll get more, but then maybe 3 days after you leave, he'll hit you. Then your whole little house of cards will collapse again. Because they're not rooted in a sound thing. There is no self. Yeah. There's no long-lasting, independent, separate entity. It's an insane idea that's grabbed our interest and attention because it's presented as us. Yeah? And the us that we are, I would say, is such a many-splendored non-thing, just totally outshines what we think we are, yet our love and cherishing for that is unbelievably strong. Yeah? So the thought system all day, yapping. She's like today, let's say, I was going to go surf at Ocean Beach, and I knew it was really good. Looked at the webcams. My friend called me up, just come right down here. But I said, I'm going to go to Cronkite. I don't want to drive over the bridge, because the beach, where I live, because I don't want to hit traffic afterwards. A pretty good sober assessment of what was going on. My head would want to keep going on, though. What did I miss at Ocean Beach? Was it more wet than the ocean I'm in now? And I bet you it was the best day of all days, but I've had many best days of all days. So you see it trot its old story out based on this impossibility that you can be somewhere other than where you are. Yeah, and that's the place. That's where the abstinence occurs. Yeah, then you can watch it. It's entertaining. But if it gets the first fallacy, the first line of shit to be taken to be so, it can build like a Tower of Babel on it. You can be so displaced from where you are by where you think you should be. It's unbelievable. But it's always based on an impossibility, like you could be somewhere other than where you are. Yeah. Now, if something came up and said, I think I should go to Ocean Beach, and then you went there, hey, the thought system served you. It did its job. It pointed something out, and you followed it. But in most cases, that doesn't occur. There's no action. You still stay right in the bar stool, but you're talking about how it's going to be so great when I move to Hawaii after I get off of general assistance or whatever. But you're sitting on the bar stool, and nothing's happening. Yeah, that's insane. Yeah. This is all about an incredible amount of common sense. You just are here because you can't be anywhere else. Yeah? Something happened. If something happened, it was supposed to happen. If it didn't happen, it wasn't supposed to happen. End of story. Like in recovery say, we don't shut the door on life of the past or regret it. That's how you do it. Hey, this is the law. Hey, so all the mental speculation gets snipped before it can even start. Because it has to start, and you need to be in agreement with it when it starts for it to blossom into a giant jungle. Yeah? You have to participate in it. If not, it has no energy in and of itself. It has to grab your interest and attention. That's what it does. When you become interested in the line of thought, it can paint a pretty damn big picture for you, which will disassociate yourself from the conscious contact of now, and you'll be in the mental realm where self reigns supreme. It's all about you in the past and the future. Or it's all about someone else in relation to you. You ever see those movies when someone's dying, when the star of the movies, and the other co-star goes like this? The person's laying there. You can't do this to me. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm passing away now. We have that date tomorrow. This is the insanity of self-centeredness. I mean, the person is transitioning, and you're, no, don't leave me. Give me a fucking break. Let me go. No, wait a little longer. Why? I have that date tomorrow. I want you to be there. No. The amount of self-centeredness is so extreme, we don't even know it. We don't even know it. It's become so commonplace. And all of that actively being up the ass of self is also an active way of forgetting what you are. Yeah? The only way you could seemingly forget what you are as what you are, is by remembering something that you're not to be you. That's the only way it could happen. Yeah? Your mind has to remember something it's not to forget what it is. Yeah? It has to take on the qualities this demonstrates and call it my qualities so that it forgets the qualities of mind. Yeah? Now it gets a bastardized version of mind called a mental processes, which is a processing of mind moving through the brain. And I'm telling you, man, the mind, let's say, is all circular. This is all right angles, the conceptual realm. It's all this, therefore that, dot, 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 dot. It's a very insane logic. It leaves no room for magic. It looks at everything that actually works as paradoxical or mysterious because it doesn't have the ability to see. Well, it has the ability to see what works, but it realizes that's the biggest threat to the failed system, is to see what works. Because the failed system isn't about working. It works incredibly to hide or mask the failedness of it. Yeah? In other words, you always listen to people if you meet them and they're having a hard day. And you say, well, what's going on? I say, I don't feel so well. And then you start saying, but they have hope. I will be okay. They're never okay right now. I will be okay. Let me be unokay right now, but I will be okay. I will be better later. Yeah? You don't see that as insanity? It's putting this moment off to thinking the other moment that's not happening is more important than this moment. It's more important that I'm okay later than it is now. Yeah? I don't care about now. I will be okay. Why? Because I was okay once. What about now? No, I don't know what the fuck I feel. Oh, but I will feel better because I once did feel better. Really? People go home, I swear, people have called me. They go home, they've been at a job all day. They go home at 6 o'clock. Their head tells them they had a bad day. It's like 8 hours later, They were in the day, which was bad. I would think they would recognize it was bad while it was bad, Why is it that it happens, and then 8 hours later, the central office drops down a commentary, your day was bad today. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, old wise one. What should I have done? Well, you should have done this. I did. I know, but you should have done this. And you shouldn't have. I did. I know. That's why you shouldn't have done it. Oh, okay, great wise one. Will you please lend me that infinite wisdom of yours? Now? No, tomorrow. So I have a better tomorrow. It's totally insane if you see it. What we're putting up with for 1 second is totally insane. It is. We should put our fucking collective foot down and say enough's enough. Like that movie Network when he yelled out, I'm angry and I'm not going to take it anymore. So that's what happened. I entertained the possibilities. I stopped going into the metaphysical aspects of the void and understanding what you can't understand and like that. That became dismissed, and I started feeling like a living scripture. Yeah, that life, what I was looking for, is going to express itself through this event, and I'm going to find out what I'm like. I'm going to find out what I am by what's happening. Yeah, I'll see it in others. I'll see it like the other day. I was in the water down at this beach here in the city. It's a very calm day, sunny with a lot of wispy clouds, but with the blue background was really evident. But tons of white, but you could see the dominant blue of the sky, yeah, which is all perceptual. It isn't blue, but that's how you see it. And so I was in the water, and it was pretty calm, and the waves weren't big, and there was this giant flock of seagulls that were moving from the south to the north, and I was in their direction, in their way. And they were flying really low to catch the currents on these little waves. So I would just be I was on my little boogie board, and I had my head there, and I could see them coming, like about 3 feet off the water. It was so beautiful. And then they shoot this way, and sometimes I thought I should put my board up because one just run ran into me. But they'd all kind of, and you get a really picture of this incredible aerodynamic event. Everything in that body works to produce this experience. They're just fucking flying with no effort in the thing, and there's like hundreds of them flying this way. This is what happens. You have the ability to enjoy that because you're here. Yeah, you're available to give your attention. You don't. There's no you giving it. Your attention and interest is made available to the present event, and that's what enriches your life. Now, do I want to have like a camera thing and take the pictures? It may have been cool, but I don't feel like it. I don't think I need to capture it. Because it's just it's the thousands of times things have happened that's left an impression in my life, yeah, that's produced and provoked a lot of gratitude, a lot of honor and gratitude, where since I was young I wanted to get out of here. I don't want to get out of here now because it's such a cool experience that's going on, I was never particularly into this place, but I'm totally okay with it now because there's so many. I don't know. Things just changed. Yeah, I would say that something showed up that seemed not to be around, and that was what I am. What finally showed up, and once it becomes apparent that it showed up, it's obviously that it was never gone. It was always been that way. We were just distracted. We were up at the ass of self. Our interest and attention had been co-opted or hijacked, and now had been dispersed in time, where we don't have enough to really be present to feel the elan vital, the livingness of this moment. Yeah, and of course that's going to produce a deep dissatisfaction, which opens us up to this giant engine to seek constantly to get relief from an apparent situation that's actually not based on so-ness. It's a mental take that's producing this giant drive to get relief. To fill up an imaginary hole, to sort of occupy that vacuous emptiness. So if you lived the day today, let's say, and you weren't gypped at all, you were there at every moment of the day, every damn moment, I tell you, there would be a sense of satisfaction that would linger in your travel. Yeah? You would actually have finally been here. Not I was and I will be, but I am. Yeah? Not I was, I will be, therefore this mental I am, but I am, and I'm free from the was and will be. You know what I mean? Those are part and parcel of the mental activity, but I don't have to be citizens of that. Yeah? Yeah? So now the I am is generating that presence of what? Of the awareness of conscious contact. It has a huge influence on you if you're here. It'll cause this experience to be lighter. Whatever it may entail, you'll travel lighter through it. And what more do you want, really? I found that's all I ever really wanted. I didn't know I listened to others to try to put names to it, like awakening or enlightenment. But all of them were really, they became like frozen ice cubes, like conceptual takes on things that didn't produce any quenching of a thirst. They actually provoked more thirst, which I thought was really strange. Because their whole point is to be the relief of all thirst, but the idea of enlightenment is producing a lot of thirst and nothing to be quenched type thirst. It's not leading anywhere. Mind has just claimed it and used to agitate itself again, just like everything else. Yeah, that's what mind does. The selfing claims. That's its movement. It's of agitation and it begets agitation. So when it claims the idea of peace, it will use that to agitate itself. Enlightenment, agitate itself. Yeah, everything. Love, agitate itself. Someone gets a $250,000 inheritance, it agitates them. Why are my friends going to think? I swear to God, I had a guy got $250,000 inheritance. Came over my house, was bitching about it. My friends, I can't tell my friends because they may treat you different. Yeah, maybe better than you would treat you. But he went on and on. I said, bro, just kick down 70,000. I'll enjoy it right now. I mean, if it's such a burden, give it to me. I can enjoy it right this very second. You know what I mean? But that's what happens, you see. It has a meaning. Oh, this would be such a nice thing to have. Yet, when the possibility shows up, it's used to agitate you. Yeah? Everything. Relationship. Oh, people like, I just want a relationship so bad. I say, all right, mark the date, March 17th. You want a relationship. And I'll never be in a relationship. It'll never happen to me. Yeah. Get the violins out. I've heard this before. Let's mark the date. Next March 17th, they're in a relationship. And they're bitching about it. I can't wait to get out of this relationship. But that's all you... No, I want to get out of it. Agitation begets agitation. Selfing is agitation. It's a process. It's not a restful entity in and of itself. It's a mental production. It's agitation and it stirs up agitation. Yeah? When your mind is agitated, it can't reflect. It can't see things clearly. You're not getting the right information for what you're seeing. The perceptions are off. So you may see threats when there are no threats. Yeah? You may see a lot of things that aren't actually happening. But when the mind gets restful and clear, it reflects, it sees things clearer. Yeah, you see blue is blue and red is red. There's not much confusion. With no thought or effort on your part. None. What's a bit? Thought or effort would be a form of agitation again. Yeah? You'd be doing like a Zen master said, you'd be trying to use activity to produce stillness. That would just be activity. Yeah. See, there is no getting out of the mind's conundrum. It's realizing you were never in the mind's conundrum. Yeah? The feeling of being a someone is being in the labyrinth of conditional mind. That someone's never it's not, no matter how many ways it goes, it's always going to be looped back into the labyrinth. Every exit door leads to the labyrinth. Every entrance leads to the labyrinth. You never get out of what you're not in. You can't. All you're trying to get out of it is reinforcing the idea that you were in it. This is like prior to that. The best way to get out of something is realize you were never in it. Not the best way to get out of something is find a map and do everything they tell you to. Then you'll get out of what you're in. But to question the inness that's producing this drive to get out. Yeah? If you're not in it, why would you try to get out of it? That's the experience of being out of it. You feel like you're out of something because you have never been in it. That's how it worked with me. That's how it came. That's how it makes sense now. That's why I share it that way. It makes total sense because it doesn't take any time to get out of an imaginary place. It doesn't take 1 second. No thought or effort. You just realize it's not so. And maybe you can just start entertaining the possibility it may not be so. Yeah. Stop letting... It's like you ever have... When I do work, there's this stuff called Quick Fix or something. It's this powder. It's just a powder. You put some water in it, and then it starts setting. And you got to use it really fast or it just gets real solid. Yes? Yeah. What's making the selfing seem so real is your interest and attention is like the water putting into all that mental powder. Yeah? You start working it. Oh yeah, I'm so special, I'm going to get all these great things. But then it starts hardening. And now you can't work with it anymore. Now it's fucking rigid. Now you got this big block in your bucket. You got to dig it all out. It's hard as hell. It's heavy as hell. Yeah? That's what it's like. Your interest and attention is is the needed ingredient to harden that thing. The idea of self is just an idea. It finds flesh and blood through the body identification, and it gets a tactile sense of it by the mental remembering of it. Yeah. That's sort of the attention and interest goes there. Now you got this thing called you. It's solid, and that's your starting point. This is the given, and now this is going to try to know God, let's say, because this isn't working out too well for this. So let's bring in God. You know what I mean? I heard God can do anything. Let's go. God, bring me some peace, will you? Well, Ramana Maharshi, this great master, says, hey, to know God is to be God, but not in the self thing. To know God is to be a knower of God. That's a different experience. You're safely entrenched in the idea of being a self as a knower of God. When you drop from knowing God to being God, you're not safely entrenched in the idea of self. You are now in the fucking abstract of possibility. You're in the realm of I don't know, but I'm sure going to find out. Yeah, so that's it for tonight, I guess. Thanksgiving. Let's give thanks, man. Give thanks for this possibility to entertain. Yeah, we are truly what we've been looking for. Yeah? Entertain a simple statement, the gateless gate. Yeah? It's an old saying, the gateless gate. So obviously there's no entrance if there's a gateless gate, is there? And also no exit. Yeah? Or the open secret. How could it be a secret? It was open. Exactly. It's like the gateless gate, the open secret. It's like the seeker is the sought. What's looking is what you're looking for. Yes? It's in forgetting the self that you are restored, let's say. You know, why is it so important to forget the self? Because the mind's busily remembering it. That's why it works. It's a perfect antidote. I found how you're going to forget the self. If you try to forget the self as self, that's remembering the self in the act of trying to forget it. That's usually the dilemma. But if you lose interest in the self, you'll forget it. Yeah? It won't have its influence anymore. And you'll be many moments in the day you'll be in this forgetfulness of self. Maybe it'll start with the things when you're doing something you love. You'll be totally forgotten self when I'm in the water. Yeah, there's no fucking remembering of a self. It's when you leave the water and you go, did anyone see me catch that wave? You know, then the self tries to regurgitate it again. But it wasn't there at all. It never has been. So when that expands out of, because then you could get addicted to surfing, and that's a dilemma too. Now the surfing that was bringing you joy is agitating you because I didn't get the biggest wave and that guy did better. It's the same bullshit. But if you can just expand on the idea that's demonstrated in whatever you love, to see that it's not the thing that's occurring, it's you, it's the mind. And the mind can expand that possibility of being in the forgetfulness of self, because it will lose interest in remembering it. It's boring as hell, to tell you the truth. Seriously. It's so much nicer. I'm telling you, it's exhausting, really.
I get this thing where I keep hearing, like in my mind, like yeah, but.
Of course, that's
like constantly trying to disprove everything.
That's right.
And then I get anxiety, like feel this anxiety because I'm like trying to figure out. I'm like, it's like I'm tripping out a little bit.
Good. I like you to trip out. Let that thing get irritated. Yeah, and just trip out and sit.
Yeah, then it just trips out and it's like.
Exactly. Let it, because it's finite. It's like a whirling dervish only has about 7 rotations. And it's not, the space that it's happening in will override it. It's like a gunslinger that can never lose, because everywhere is already there. You're going, but everywhere's got you beat. Yeah? So the selfing is finite. it's always going to get exhausted, but what you are isn't. Yeah? You can always wait it out. If you don't act out and don't die, things will get really good. Most people act out. They act out like with alcohol and drugs, let's say. But they'll have the fear of death, but they're not going to die. Yeah? And then something gets a large chunk of interest and attention that was wedded to that slavery, it melts and shows up right here, the only place it could actually facilitate something. Yeah? So it may look like you're going through hell, but it's bringing a lot of heaven with it. You just sort of, if you just ask, if you have to, just say, I'm a believer in it. I don't believe in any need for a dark night of the soul, but sometimes the source of agitation is going to get really agitated when it's threatened. It's not going to take it lightly. It's going to be, it's going to run out its old themes, You'll never be loved. You are a fraud. You are bad. Go down, bow down now in front of your God. If you don't do anything stupid and don't die, the interest and attention. When it comes back into where it's always been, it's what enriches your life. The same thing that can be enslaving you by thinking always about, following all the thoughts about you in the past and future, so you can't even be where you are seemingly, because the thoughts aren't about here, they're about there and then. That same interest tension, relieved of that bondage, will be enriching your life. You'll see these beautiful vistas. You'll sense the smell coming over, wafting over the water or something. You'll be engaged in the experience of conscious contact. Yeah?
I gotta go.
Yeah, well, we're going to take off either. It's nice meeting you, bro.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
Thanks,
take
Paul.
care. Keep
Really
listening.
appreciate it. I sure will.
All right.
Yeah. Good to meet you. See you guys.
What's your name again?
Chris.
Chris. All right, Chris.
Yeah.
See you.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about you when you leave. Don't worry.
I was tripping out.
Take it easy, man.
Yeah,
You're in good hands, I'm telling you.
I'll see you again. Appreciate it.
Good. We're going to have seatbelts next time.
Okay.
Yeah, seatbelts. Yeah. All right. I'll be in first class, of course. You'll be in economy there. Get that. I need a bigger curtain, iron curtain. No more of those people bothering me up here. I want all my nuts warmed. Oh, I should have. Maybe I shouldn't have recorded that. Sorry.